Okay. Okay. Well, so my name is Peter Vander, and I work here at the University of Economics and Business in Vienna. And the paper I'd like to talk about is work I did together with Nikolaus Franke, who also works here at the Vienna University of Economics. And yeah? Our main motivation for this. Okay, no. So our main motivation for this work was to understand better what drives the phenomenon of migrant entrepreneurship. Because there are about 230 million, estimated by the United Nations, migrants across the world, both temporary migrants and permanent migrants. And a surprising high degree of these people is engaged in entrepreneurial activity. So more than you would expect. And there are famous examples like Elon Musk or Sergey Brin. But actually, this pattern is present also beyond the tech entrepreneurship, but it exists in more or less every industry and country. So when you look at the literature, there are a number of explanations for this phenomenon of migrant entrepreneurship, but most of them focus on opportunity exploitation. So, for example, some authors argue that immigrants have a cultural heritage that makes entrepreneurship a more attractive career choice. Or others argue that migration policy is often a selection mechanism that filters for those individuals who are more likely to be successful when they become entrepreneurs, so they do become entrepreneurs. The interesting thing is that most of literature so far has not looked at opportunity recognition in the whole process. So we were wondering whether there is a relationship between migrant entrepreneurship and intercultural experience in that, and the ability to find profitable, attractive business opportunities. And the assumption that we had, and the hypothesis of this paper, is that there is a positive effect of intercultural experience on the ability to spot profitable business opportunities. So the access that you gain to knowledge about products and services in different countries through cross-cultural experience is beneficial because it allows you to transfer knowledge between countries, to recombine knowledge between countries, and this kind of experience is basically helpful when it comes to trying to identify novel, profitable business opportunities. Yeah. Yeah. Mm, mm. Yeah. 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 Well, it's an interesting point because yeah, yeah, sure, sure. So one thing that is interesting when you look at migrant entrepreneurship from an empirical point of view is that it's very hard to disentangle selection effects from effects that occur later. And there is some good theory on migrants being self-selected. Basically, migration being a selection mechanism also for individuals who have entrepreneurial personality traits or an entrepreneurial drive. So those who select themselves into migration, they are already selected. So when building our design, we tried to deal with this issue as good as we could by basically employing two different experiments. One being a natural quasi-experiment. So it had all the ingredients of an experiment, two groups, one with a treatment and one with a control condition. Whereas we used stay abroad as treatment. So we were working together with our university's exchange program, and 127 students were part of this program. So they went abroad for at least 3 months, lived abroad, interacted with the place where they were, and then they came back. And on the other hand, we had a control group that was as similar as we could get them in main characteristics, and all of these individuals were measured before and after on their opportunity recognition abilities. So we asked them to generate ideas and for a very specific scenario, and got them later rated by venture capitalists and people with a rating background, basically on a business idea rating background. And it turned out there is an effect. Still, with this design, we still had a little potential of self-selection. So we ran a second experiment where we only worked with long-term immigrants. And so everyone in the sample had intercultural experience, but we primed some of them to subconsciously to think of this experience and to access the knowledge that they have, whereas the control condition group was not primed to do so. So we activated the cross-cultural experience for some of the people in the sample. And what we again found was that those who were activating this knowledge, they performed much better in identifying profitable business opportunities. And, sorry? Yeah. There was, nice. Yeah. But with priming conditions or as an experiment? Mm-hmm. Mm. Nice. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ah, okay, okay. So once it became an experiment with two groups, it was, yeah, uh-huh. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mhm. Yeah, I think it has caught up again the last years, no? With this Fraser article in 2007 that kind of put it back on the agenda. Hmm. Yeah. So I think yeah. So thinking of implications for practice of our work, I think there are at least three groups of practitioners that could care about the paper. First, of course, entrepreneurs. I think the implication for entrepreneurs is rather straightforward in the sense that it does make sense to collect cross-cultural experience. It does make sense to go abroad, in particular when you're in the process of finding opportunities. So probably in very early stages or in later scaling stages, it makes a lot of sense to have this sort of experience either for a sole founder or if you're working in a team, of course, you may look particular in your staff for people who have cross-cultural experience. So that's a way to simply improve the ways to find opportunities. But it is also the fact for corporates. And one of the interesting implications of the work is that programs and instruments that are built to improve international mobility, they could be also instruments for improving entrepreneurial capabilities, in particular opportunity recognition. So there are these multinationals that send people abroad in expatriate programs or in some sort of job rotation program. And I think these programs could be very easily linked to entrepreneurship programs. So when people come back from an assignment abroad, maybe they didn't only bring a vast number of experiences, but probably also very specific ideas or building stones for ideas that could become business opportunities. And the same actually goes for universities. I mean, in our university, we have a large program to send students abroad, and we support them. I think the majority of our students do undertake some sort of exchange during their studies. And also there is an increasing investment into entrepreneurship and support programs. So actually these different programs could be very good allies and could work together very nicely. And finally, from a policy perspective, I think that's the probably most interesting implication is that the work in our paper suggests that migration is not a zero-sum game. So it's not really one country losing entrepreneurial potential on the expense of the other, but at least to some extent, it is the migration process itself that helps people become entrepreneurs and improve their capacity to find opportunities. So overall, the yeah, overall more migration benefits more societies at the same time. And I think in times like these, when migration is often discussed in a very critical sense, and many people like to point at the negative sides of migration, maybe our study can make some sort of humble contribution to look at the positive sides of migration for both countries that are sending as well as those that are receiving migrants. Mm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Well, I haven't seen it. Yeah, we haven't done this yet here, but I mean, there are a couple of implications, both from the stuff that we've done, but also some